Alright guys, so here's the review of the Undone Aquadeep. So this is something a little bit different. This is actually a watch that you can customise along with a lot of their other watches. That's what they tend to do, it's what they specialise in. So this is the first of their watches I'm checking out, so I'll quickly go over the packaging. So I've got the branding on the top there, and if we open up this flap you can see individuality matters, because that's what they're all about. And if we pop it down for a second, we've got the warranty card in here as well. And you get a 1-year warranty on it. And if we pop that back, the only other thing in here is the watch. So I'll get all this out of the way, and then we'll get right down to the watch. And here it is. So as I alluded to in the intro, you can customise the majority of the watches on their site. Some more than others. Some you can change pretty much everything, dial, hands, etc. With this one, there's only a few bits you can do. But we'll get into this as we get into the review. If that sounds like something that interests you, link will be down in the description so you can check out all the different ones they offer and all the different customization and everything you can do. And also, if you do want to pick one up, I've actually got a discount code as well. So that's James15 and that'll get you 15% off. So I'll leave that down in the description too. And that can be used on any watch that you buy. It doesn't have to be this one. And it doesn't even have to be one you customise yourself. They have some pre-done too. So now all that's out of the way, let's get back to this. So before we go into any more detail on it, let's go over the dimensions first. So we've got a diameter of 43mm, thickness of 16.5, but don't worry, there's a reason for that. Lug width of 22, then the all important lug to lug is coming in at about 51mm. When it comes to the weight, on the strap I've got it on, it's about 106 grams, but you can get it on leather, or they do canvas ones as well I think, and they do multiple colours of all the different ones. So you should be able to find what you like. When it comes to the hardware on this, that's titanium, matching the case, which is really nice. Got the Undone branding on there. We've also got that nice detailing on the sides. I think it's a really cool design. I do like that. Just the attention to detail. They could have just done it as a solid piece, but they've gone the extra mile just to make it a little bit more interesting and a bit more special. When it comes to the keepers, you've got one floating one, one fixed. We've got the Undone branding on there, and also telling you it's 22mm. And we've also got a quick release, which is good to see. So if you do want to swap the straps out, you can quickly do that. No problem. And it's a really soft, supple strap. Really comfortable. No break-in period at all. Moving on to the head of the watch. You can see we've got that really interesting case design. Sloped lugs, angular case as well. The kind of pyramid style section with the crown guards. It's definitely something a bit different. And then we've got that Undone logo on the crown as well. Nice and grippy, as is the bezel. Same finish on both. Moving around to the other side, we've actually got a helium escape valve on this. That's because this has got a 500 metre water resistance. So that is pretty cool. And again, we've got the same kind of design with that kind of pyramid section with the crown guard. So now you know why it is such a chunky watch, because we have got a proper diver on our hands here. We've also got a double domed crystal there. So if we take a look at the dial now, you're going to notice straight away we've got quite a lot of glare. So there's not really any AR on this, which is a little disappointing, because it definitely needs some. It's not quite as bad as this in natural lighting. Obviously with these studio kind of lights, it's worse than it will be when you're using it normally, but there is still quite a bit of glare. So when it comes to the dial, we've actually got a textured dial on this, which is pretty nice, and it is actually a sandwich dial as well, so that is pretty cool. So there should be plenty of area to get a decent amount of lume in there, so we'll be checking that in a bit. When it comes to the hands, we've got a pretty unique style hand on there as well. Not something I've seen before. They're quite flat, but they are quite broad, so that may affect the lume. We'll check that in a bit, as I say. But I do like the design of them. They're definitely something a little bit different, and I think they suit the watch well. And then up at the top there, you can see the first bit of customization we've got on this. So if you want to get the custom logo on the dial, that'll cost you an extra $20 on top of the actual price of the watch, which I think is pretty reasonable. When it comes to the bezel, you can see we've got a mixture of finishes on that. So it's a matte bezel, the numbers actually polished. So adds a nice little bit of contrast and helps them stand out as well. And then in the top, in that triangle, we've also got the lume pip as well. So if you choose to get this without the custom logo on the dial, you'll actually have a sterile dial, well, at the top anyway. At the bottom, you've got the Aquadeep in orange matching the hands, and then you've got the water resistance rating, and then also the fact that it's self-winding. Don't really know why that's on there. Personally, I'd get rid of that. And then just below the 6, we've got Undone branding there. But now, let's get a zoom out and show you this bezel in action. So it's a 120 click ceramic bezel. It's not the nicest sounding of actions. There is a little bit of backplay as well, but it works well enough. When it comes to the alignment, you can get it to align perfectly because you have got that slight bit of play. So even if it is ever so slightly off, you'll be able to line it up nicely. But with mine, that's not an issue. It's not misaligned anyway. So now let's talk about the back of this. So it's a display case back, but again, this is something else you can customize, which I've done on this one. But again, you can choose not to and just have it blank so you'll actually see the movement. But I went with the customization, and you had to have guessed what I was going to put on there. It's the logo for the channel, matching the initials on the front. And it's really nicely done. So all you have to do is just upload the image you want to go on the back of it. Make sure it's a high-res image, otherwise it's not going to look as good. It was really simple to do, and again, this is something that is just an extra $20 on top of the actual price of the watch if you get it without any customization. Then we've just got the specs around the outside, so the fact that it's grade 2 titanium case and case back, which I do like. But then the other nice bit that we've got on there as well is the fact that it actually says it's pressure tested to 500 meters. That's definitely not something you see on a lot of watches, so that is pretty nice. It doesn't mention on the case back whether it's sapphire or not, so let's test that out now, both front and back, using the trusty diamond selector tool. So the front, yep, that is sapphire. Let's flick it over and test out the back. And that is just mineral. A little bit disappointing, but not all that unexpected. So now let's get onto the movement. Yep, as you'd expect, it's another NH35. So if we unscrew the crown, really nice grippy crown, nice and big as well. Popping out to the first position, we've actually got a ghost date. A little bit disappointing. Would have been nice if they'd put a date on there. I personally would have liked to seen it down at the 6. So if we pop it out to the second position, you'll see the second hand stops, so we go hacking. Then we can just change the time. Then pop it back in, second hand will re-engage. Hand winding, all works well, no issues with that. It is just the fact that we have that ghost date, it's a little bit disappointing. And then again, really easy to screw back down with that nice grippy big crown. So now, let's check out what the Lume's like, see if that sandwich dial is making a big difference or not. And there it is. So we've got that ice blue BGW9. Got a really good amount on the dial especially, with those really broad indices and numbers. And also with it being a sandwich dial, we've got a nice bit of depth to them as well, so you can get plenty of layers on. The Lume pip likewise, they've got a good amount on there. The only slight issue is that the hands aren't as bright. It's something I was a little bit worried it was going to be the case, with how thin the hands are. They're broad, but they're not that deep, so they can't get as many layers on, I don't think. But we've got no patchiness on anywhere, so hopefully, once we speed this up in a second, we'll see that the hands hang on and they don't fade quickly. So speeding it up, you can see the dial, no problem at all. Staying really bright, as you'd kind of expect, with it being a sandwich dial and such broad indices. Lume pip is also doing well. Hands have faded a bit. They're starting to get a little bit difficult to see, which is a bit of a shame, because obviously it's not going to be that usable with the hands faded, no matter how good the rest of the dial is. So you're probably wondering, how much is all this going to cost you? So before you customise it, it's $395, £310, €363. But don't forget the 15% off using the code JAMES15. But you probably want to know how it wears first before you decide. And here's what it looks like on my 7-inch wrist. So it actually wears surprisingly well. Really soft and comfortable strap. I'm on the 4th to last hole. And I do like that buckle again, being titanium and just the detailing on it, just matching the case. I think the lug width is probably right on the limit of what I'd wear personally. Normally I'm 50 and below, but this 51 I think I can just about pull off. But let me know what you think down in the comments. The bigger issue for some people is probably going to be that thickness though, because it's definitely a chunky watch, but again, don't forget there's a 500 meter diver, and some of that thickness is underneath, so it does kind of sit into your wrist, which does help reduce it slightly. but you're probably not going to be using this as a diver because of that lume on the hands, unfortunately. So the fact that it has actually got a helium escape valve is kind of redundant almost, which is a bit of a shame. When it comes to the bezel, I do like the detailing on that, with the little polished sections on the numbers, just making them stand out, adding a bit of contrast and catching the light. And I do like the dial as well, the sandwich dial with the texture, and the fact that you can customise it as well. So, as I say, you can change the straps, you can get the custom logo on the front and on the back, or just a picture on the back, up to you. But, again, unfortunately, it is kind of let down by the lume on the hands. Another minor issue is the lack of AR on the crystal. With it being double domed, it definitely needed some AR. It might have some maybe, but it doesn't look like it has. And if it does, it definitely needs more. So if you do get this watch, you're probably not going to actually be using it for diving. Well, you could wear it, but you'll need something else to actually time your dive. But if you just want to get it because you like the style, and you're not going to be going diving with it, I think I'd probably recommend it still. It's a little on the pricey side, but the fact that you can customise quite a lot of it, I think kind of makes up for that. Because you are still getting a grade 2 titanium case, you're getting the helium escape valve, you're getting the nice textured sandwich dial, you're getting the matching titanium buckle with the detailing on. You've got sapphire crystal, but again, lack of AR. It's one of them, it's so close to being really, really good, but a couple of little things, just stop it, just hold it back a bit. So you're going to have to be comfortable dealing with those shortcomings. Or if you're into modding, you could always just change those hands in crystal. But that's it for this one, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.